Hi. So I'm going to try and make this video and talk about something very controversial and a hot topic, and that it took me quite a while to get into words things that I've been feeling and contemplating. And just today I talked with a friend, and somehow these insights just came out verbally. So I can express it now, and I'm going to give it a try. So I'm an Israeli, and this is going to be titled How It Is to Be a Peace-Seeking Israeli Today. And it's going to talk about this, but I think it's going to have some kind of twist. And I want to say in advance that this alleged twist is not a manipulation. It's just because how things are, and because of the process I myself went through, metabolizing those thoughts. So I'm not trying to manipulate anyone to our side. I don't have a side. I'm not so the usual Israeli, you would say. For starters, I'm one of the few that was in the peace camp in Israel, more or less, was contemplating and interested in peace, which was rare enough before October 7th. And nowadays, it's much, much rarer, much more rare than it was because of the way things happened, what transpired. And today, these days, to be an Israeli that is seeking peace with Muslims, with Arabs, with Palestinians is almost impossible. You are very much the odd one out. No one understands you truly. And when I say a peace-seeking Israeli, what I mean is that I basically don't identify with one side of the conflict, especially not the Israeli and not the Palestinian. But I do know how the Israeli narrative goes, and I'm much less of an expert about this Palestinian narrative, but I can relatively objectively tell the story of how it is to be an Israeli in the last years, decades, and my interest still falls on the wish for peace to reside in this country in some way or another. And what it means for me, among other things, is that I really do understand and admit there is a lot of suffering and a lot of force implemented from the Israeli side. But there is as well, and that's the twist that I promised, that there is a lot of complexity. And the main thing that I want to say here is that however peaceful you might be, it's problematic to ignore the complexity of things and the way they went along and built themselves over the decades. And it's problematic when you look from the Israeli perspective, and I'm sure it's problematic from the Palestinian perspective. But the fact is that if someone is condemning Israel and not aware that there is also complexity, a lot of complexity from the Israeli side, and that there is whole worldwide aspect to this conflict, that the conflict is not only between just a bunch of Palestinians sitting in Gaza and wanting their own country, their own state, their own independence. This is not, it's not the base of the story. It's not the gist of the story. And this is something just today, it dropped for me, that the complexity of the thing, you know, it's not only as if we give Palestinians their independence, problem solved. And that's the thing, that's the rub in the whole thing. So if you're an Israeli and you're still wanting to live in a peaceful place, just to say, okay, give them their independence doesn't solve the problem, because the problem is very complicated, and it's not Israel that made it complicated. So I think that is a problem in the perceptions of some of the people that are supporting Palestine, that they see the problem only skin deep. They don't go into, and I wouldn't want to go into, I would like to think of myself personally as a good person that supports the weak and the deprived side of the world. And to think that of myself, I would go and protest against the bad and the strong, you know, that is depriving the weak, you know. But it's not so simple about this conflict, because mainly because fundamentalist Islam, that is a big wide problem. It's a big wide problem in the countries around Israel, like Iran and its proxies, Lebanon, and especially what's called Hezbollah, or whatever the way that you pronounce it abroad. And now Yemen, there's a branch of terrorists working there and attacking Israel. So that is a very complex state of things. And I'm not an expert of that, but it comes from a fundamentalist Islamic that not all Islam believers are believing, but there is a big movement of Islam that their take of reality is deeply distorted and dangerous, and aggressive and dangerous. And this is a worldwide problem, truly. And it's not, and it's connected, this organization, Hamas, that is working in Israel, that attacked in the October 7, is connected closely, directly connected to this wider movement, that what they believe is so far away from any perception that Westerners have on life and values that Westerners might hold on the right way to live and what is of value. It's so far away from it that people are having difficulty to understand the gap that's there and the interest and agenda of those organizations. And we're talking here about a lot of Arabs, which I don't have any problem if you're an Arab. But we're talking about a lot of people that don't quite believe what we believe, and that is causing a big problem, and it's fortifying for years and years and years now. It's making much worse the problem of the Palestinian group of people in Israel. It's making it much more severe than it would be if it would be just a local problem. So if we're talking right now, what is the problem? The problem is very complex, and Israel is in the heart of this complex problem. And it's not only what happened in October 7 was a buildup. There was a buildup to that. There's an history to that. And both parties are at blame, but it also has a wider context. And it makes it quite difficult to solve by just saying, okay, so just make peace, okay, guys, just stop attacking each other and make peace. Another problem is that the way that Hamas, the organization that created October 7th, if you don't know what October 7th is, look it up. But if you do, this organization that did what happened, this massacre in Israelis, it's not that you can separate them from the Palestinians living in Gaza, even if the Palestinians living in Gaza had a different ideology, which they don't so much because, regretfully, Hamas has been controlling very forcefully Gaza for more than a decade, like 15 years or so. I don't know exactly how long, and they're very ingrained there, even in a ideological sense, naturally, and also like in every other sense. They're just, the people and the organization are one, they control, they voted for them many years ago, like more than 14 years ago, once. And since there weren't any elections, they just abducted this community after one election, And that's the end of the story. And ever since, Israel is trying to somehow manage this situation. So it's very, very complicated. And now, if you want, you can't allow, basically, if I look at the Israeli side, it's impossible to allow this terrorist organization attack and massacre and abduct hundreds of your people and not respond, right? So what do Israelis supposed to do? Just like sit and take it? No, it's a problem. It's a problem, and Israelis are not a bunch of Gandhis. You know Gandhi, the Indian? They're not. And they'll protect themselves. So that's what they've been doing in the last 10 months. At the expense of a lot of suffering from Gazans, which are mixed with the terror organization, because this Hamas organization it acts in a way and is placed in a way in Gaza. They use the civilians in Gaza as human shields in every possible way. So it's very complicated warfare, and I'm not for any warfare. You know, I'm a peace seeker. But if you agree that Israel has to protect itself in some way and avoid this happening again and deal with this terrorist organization, very aggressive, then this is a complicated warfare to manage. So this is I'm just going like yay deep, but if you go really into it, you'll discover, I'm sure, that how complicated it is. So as an Israeli, I can see how complicated it is and how tragic it is for the civilians in Gaza that got abducted by this organization with one election. And ever since there was no election, did you know that? And then there's the wider context of Iran and its connections with Hamas, and how Iran is activating all those proxies in the countries that are around Israel, like Lebanon, where there is Hezbollah. And so Israel is a really tricky situation. And the world is in a really tricky situation, because there are many Muslims, believers of this kind of ideology all around the world, especially in Europe. But that's not my point. My point is that it's complex. And another point I want to make is that there's also another side to it of opportunity to change it. Right now, there's a golden, what's called in Hebrew, a golden opportunity, you know, which United States is trying to bring forth, trying to advance, and has been trying to advance all along, to create a peaceful coalition of peaceful Arab countries from around Israel and United States, and create peace treaties and some kind of settlement that will bring more quiet to the region and will start healing Gaza, while gradually taking away Hamas, God willing, taking away Hamas power and instating a different kind of regime in those areas, and gradually allowing for some kind of peace to reside. The problem in Israel right now, well, one is it's one person, the Prime Minister Netanyahu, which is not going for that. He's not seeming to go with that possibility. And I don't want to make assumptions here. It's too short of a video to make assumptions why, but it is problematic, in my opinion, and he's practically avoiding steps, and has been avoiding steps for months now, to go with the logical agenda for a solution. And there is an opportunity here. And why? Because at least 50% of Israelis see it his way. At least 50% of Israelis want him and want this agenda of his to give the tone. And right now, he has a coalition, and he's trying to keep his coalition functional, because it's about 50-50 in the public, and he knows if he loses the coalition, he may lose the next election. So this person has become a big problem for peace seekers, or just rationality seekers in Israel, that want the killing to end on both sides, that want the hostages home, that want some kind of positive horizon for Israel. Those people consider Netanyahu to be a big problem. I would assume, and I can say for myself, I consider him to be a big problem right now. It's not that if he goes, the problem will be less complicated. It's still a very complicated situation, and there's no promise for a simple solution. But if we want to take steps towards any kind of solution that is not endless war, in my opinion, this person must be taken, must be removed. Of course, peacefully removed, but removed from office. So, it's really complicated to be these days someone that doesn't believe in perpetual war, that wants to think about the suffering and losses of Palestinians, despite also, of course, caring for the Israeli side of, there's a lot of suffering here. To be someone that sees the complexity and wants to make a change, but it's not possible in the foreseeable year or a couple of years, unless something will shift. But we try to protest, we try to talk, we try to, and there's quite a lot of people that are trying, but also for each person that will understand you when you talk the way I talk, there would be another person that will attack you in Israel, that will really go at you. And we will say that you are something between stupid, just stupid, or just a traitor. And this is just like, how do you say, skimming the surface of the complexity of Israeli society, because we are a very eclectic society. I would say that to sum it up. There are quite a few groups that are very distinct from each other in the Israeli society, are very different, very, very polarized from each other. It's very hard to create a momentum of some kind of positive, logical, rational action towards peace, towards a liberal life here, because there are different relatively large sections of the society in Israel, and I can tell you that about a third of the society don't care about anything. They don't go to the army. They don't care about foreign affairs. They don't care about how people abroad is thinking about Israel. They just learn, they just study religion. They're very, very religious. So a third of our society is very problematic because you cannot harness it to any kind of agenda, okay? And then you have the two thirds, which go like half by half, almost, that half will be very militaristic and nationalistic and believe in we have to hold the whole country, the full, that Israel needs to belong to Israelis, end of subject. And there are half that are liberal, that are saying like, but we want a liberal country, we want peace, something like that. But the problem is those two sections, they go to the military. So it's a people's military, and they meet in the military, and they have to somehow work together to protect from this terrorist attack, you know? And it's very, very complicated. So it's a tough place to be, Israel, right now. And I don't know what I want from you. I just want people to, it would be nice if people would stop skimming the surface and understand more about Israeli society, how complex it is, Islamic fundamentalism, how widespread it is, how complicated the situation with it is, and that it's not just an Israeli problem, and it's a problem that can become everyone's problem in just a few years, and how urgent it is to come together as a world, as a liberal Western world, and to make a coalition, and basically against these dark powers at play. So thank you if you listened, and good luck to us all. Feel free to comment, be nice. Thank you.